Hey everyone, this is Michael. We're going to do a weather update because there is a chance of a significant winter storm down south for early next week, early to mid next week. So we're going to go over what we could see with that. But this is very impressive because we just had a winter storm in the south last week with Winter Storm Cora. So now we're already looking at maybe another winter storm, like I said, early to mid next week. So we're going to talk about that and what we might see. So this month we have been seeing predominantly the positive PNA weather pattern. That's when you get the ridge out west and the trough in the east. So when you get this, you can get colder air further south into the south and southeast. And that's what we're going to be seeing next week with the Arctic air blast that's going to be pushing southward. Because of the positive PNA, the cold air will be able to make it pretty far south into the south and the southeast. Now, this is like a general overview from the Weather Channel, their general overview forecast of what's going to go, what's going to happen with this. And you can see significant snow accumulations all the way to the Gulf Coast. That's down to that's Interstate 10 down there. That's very, very, very impressive. I mean, this could be snow accumulations in New Orleans. And it's hard enough to get winter storms for I-20, but all the way down to I-10 is even more rare. So that's very impressive that we're looking at this, possibly with this storm. But again, it has significant snow accumulations down to the Gulf Coast, and also over up into the up into Georgia, especially southeastern Georgia, and then up into the Carolinas as well. With it looks like more accumulations closer to the coast on this overview. So that's the basic overview of what the Weather Channel is putting out there. Now let's look at some of the more let's look at more specifics with the individual models. Let's see, one second. Okay, so let's start with the European model, and I think this one tends to be the more reliable model. It tends to do the best. And it's not perfect, it does mess up with things sometimes, but usually it's the better model. So we'll start out here early Tuesday. You can start to, you start to see the snow break out in Texas. But as we advance through Tuesday, you see more of that with the snow in Texas and snow in southern Louisiana. As we go through Tuesday, and you can see New Orleans, even New Orleans getting snow with this. So let's advance forward here. You see the snow along the Gulf Coast. Okay. We're going to keep going as we head. This is early. Let's see. This is early Wednesday. You can see snow breaking out mostly in Georgia, mostly to the southeast. Southeastern Georgia, with more snow in the southeast portion of Georgia. But there is snow in Georgia and also going into the Carolinas, and you can see maybe even some snow freezing rain on the panhandle of Florida there. All right, so a little bit more there, and we see the snow in the Carolinas, but it looks like more toward the coast. Looks like the heavier snow is toward the coast with the Euro model. So then we're gonna look at the GFS model now, and this one is more expansive with the precipitation, which is funny because this one's actually the one that was being drier in some of the previous runs, but now it's kind of going back to the idea of having more moisture there. So we're going to play through what the GFS has. And you see early Tuesday, you can start to see the snow a little bit in Texas. Then as we advance forward, we see snow and wintry mix down into Louisiana. That could be a wintry mix freezing rain for New Orleans, according to GFS. But you can see the winter precipitation all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And then, but on this, you can see that the winter precipitation is further north. More expansive moisture with this, as the snow extends further north in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, and into the Carolinas. It's further north than the Euro was. Okay, and then we advance a little bit more here as we go. This is early Wednesday here. You can see the snow again. Let's go a little forward, and here you can see wintry mix and ice on the coast of South Carolina. Snow a little bit further inland. But that's still, very impressive, and we keep going. And it looks like it's going to clear out for Thursday. It's drier Thursday. All right, now let's look at, it's the CMC, which is the Canadian model. Now, the Canadian model has been the most bullish with the storm. It's had the biggest storm, basically, with the most precipitation on it. Let's start that. This is early Tuesday. We head through Tuesday. You can see the snow in Texas. And we're going to keep advancing. We're just going to play here's Wednesday, early Wednesday. See, there's a lot of snow, and you can see there's some heavy snow there with the darker blues. Well, all the way down to the Gulf Coast again. Okay, and this is on Wednesday. You see snow here in the southeast. And maybe even heavy snow. It's showing like really heavy snow in southern Georgia and also on the coast of South Carolina there with heavy snow. And then again, Thursday, the system's gone. Well, it looks like the storm pulls away for Thursday with drier conditions Thursday. Okay, so it looks like with this setup, the cold air is definitely going to be there. There's definitely enough cold air for this to happen. The question seems to be just how expansive the moisture is going to be. How the precipitation, how expansive is that going to be? How far north does it get? That's going to be the main question with this system, because if it's if the storm system's further south, if the storm system's further south, the moisture will be further south. And then, if it's further north, closer to the coast, then you're going to see the precipitation extend further north and further northwest. So it depends on the low pressure track, the moisture coverage. So again, if it's closer to the coast, well, it's not going. If it's closer to the coast, it's going to go further north and further northwest. But if it's a little bit more further south and a little bit more offshore, then you're going to see the precipitation won't go as far north in that case. If the storm system's further south and further offshore. So that's what we're looking at. We're going to have to see how this plays out. But this is the Euro Ensemble mean. And here, it's got 1.7 inch for Columbia, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But you can see there's higher totals on this, closer to the coast. And that's really impressive over here in Louisiana, with around 2 to 3 inches in southern Louisiana, including New Orleans. So that's pretty interesting. And New Orleans hasn't had measurable snow since December 2009. With 0.1 inch, and that wasn't very much. But December 2008, they had about 2 inches, so that was really their last snowstorm with good accumulation was December 2008. So this is definitely rare to get this kind of storm all the way down to I-10. So this is really something we haven't seen in a while. For the Gulf Coast. So this is the Euro Ensemble map mean But now let's look at, okay, this is the GFS mean. Let's look at the GFS mean now. 1.6 for Colombia, so again, pretty good. But again, higher totals toward the coast. So you can see how the concern for Colombia might be, if you want snow, the concern might be the heaviest precipitation might actually be to our south and east, might be closer toward the coast with the heavier snow. But this still does have a good bit inland, and I would say 1.6 is pretty good. Look at for the mean. Now the CMC, the Canadian, the one that has been the most bullish, has 8 inches for Colombia. And you can see a swath of really heavy snow there. In the purple, like 6 to 8 inches or so in that purple swath. So, that's very impressive. But I do think this is probably a little overdone, I would say. But it is important to take notice of this because the Canadian model has done, really good in the past with southeast winter storms. It can sometimes be the better one, but not every time. So that's the thing you have to think about. It's interesting that it's been so consistent with this, so we do have to take note of that. But I do think though this is probably overdone. For this case, but it is something to keep in mind. It's interesting, but I think it's a little overdone. Now this is the Euro Ensemble mean for percentage of, well, the probability of 1 inch or greater snow accumulation. So here we see, let me scroll down, this is like 40 to 50% chance for Columbia, South Carolina. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But then as you get, closer to the coast, the percentages go up. As you can see down here, the yellow is like 50 to 60. That orange right here is 60 to 70. And that's definitely higher percent chances going down toward the coast. Now, this is the Canadian model with the total snowfall 1 inch or greater probabilities. And that's higher for Columbia, as we can see. That one has a higher chance for the 1 inch or greater for Columbia. And if we look down here, that's like, 60 to 70%, I think. Right there for Columbia. Yeah. Just about, yeah, I would say. So that is impressive there as well. So yeah, that's the general overview. This is the National Weather Service, what they put out. In that yellow area, they say there's like a 40% chance of moderate winter impacts. And I think it looks like Columbia is in that zone. So that's a pretty good chance of seeing some impacts from a winter storm. But notice how high they are down here in Louisiana. That's pretty interesting there. So, and this is going to be from snow and, and also and also possible as well wintry mix and freezing rain. And, you always have to wait till closer to the event to see more information about how exactly the precipitation types will play out. With who's going to get snow and who's going to get more of a wintry mix freezing rain. But, this is interesting because this might actually be one of those cases where a lot of it ends up being snow. So, but there's always the chance that there's going to be a zone of wintry mix and freezing rain. And exactly where that is, exactly where that is going to be determined as we get closer to the event. Alright everyone, so that's the basic overview. So again, a winter storm possible for the south early to mid next week, even down to the Gulf Coast.